Commander Kim Jae-woo stood in the communications room of Proxima Station, staring at the screen in front of her. Her hands shook. The words on the display refused to make sense, even though she had read them 5 times already. Her daughter was dead. Park Mina, 8 years old, killed in the marketplace. The station's medical officer, Dr. Lee Suho, stood beside her with red eyes. I'm so sorry, Commander. It happened so fast. The Krell enforcers came to the trading district. There was an argument about some cargo fees. They just started shooting. Jae-woo felt her legs weaken, but she forced herself to remain standing. Where is she now? In the medical bay. Your mother is with her. She tried to protect Mina, but... The doctor's voice faded away. Jae-woo walked past him, her movements automatic, her mind refusing to accept reality. The corridor stretched endlessly before her. Other crew members stepped aside, their faces showing pity and anger. In the medical bay, her mother sat beside a small covered form. The old woman looked up, tears streaming down her face. I tried, Jae-woo. I tried to pull her away, but the Krell were so fast. Jae-woo approached slowly. She pulled back the white sheet with trembling fingers. Mina lay there, still holding the toy spaceship she had begged for yesterday. Her daughter's face looked peaceful, as if she were just sleeping. But the burn marks from the Krell plasma weapons told the truth. She wanted to show it to the Krell merchants, her mother whispered. She said she wanted to be friends with them. She walked toward their stall to say hello, and then the enforcers arrived and started firing everywhere. Jae-woo pulled the sheet back over her daughter's face. Something cold settled in her chest, replacing the shock. She kissed her fingers and touched them to the covered form, then turned and walked out. 2 hours later, she stood before the Krell ambassador in the station's diplomatic section. The insectoid creature towered over her, his chitinous armor gleaming under the lights, his compound eyes reflecting her image 1,000 times. I demand justice, Jae-woo said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. Your enforcers killed my daughter. An 8-year-old child. In a neutral zone. The Krell ambassador's mandibles clicked together, the translator device on his chest converting the sounds to words. Collateral damage. Your offspring should not have been near Krell business operations. We are a superior species in the Galactic Council hierarchy. We are not responsible for the safety of lesser species young. Jae-woo's hands clenched into fists. Lesser species? Your kind agreed to the Soul Accord 80 years ago. You confined yourselves to your home system. You accepted your place in the galactic order. One human child does not matter in the grand scheme of things. Around the room, other diplomats from various alien species shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away. None spoke up. The Krell ambassador turned to leave. This matter is closed. The Dominion will not discuss it further. Jae-woo stood alone in the diplomatic chamber after everyone left. She thought about that day 80 years ago before she was born, when humanity first met the galaxy. A small human exploration ship had been attacked by a Krell patrol. The humans defended themselves. The battle lasted only 7 minutes. The human ship survived. 12 Krell warships did not. The Galactic Council had panicked. They forced Earth to sign the Soul Accord, locking humanity's military forces inside their own solar system. Humans agreed because they wanted peace, wanted to join the galactic community. But they had never stopped building ships. Never stopped preparing. Just in case. Jae-woo walked to the secure terminal in her quarters. She typed out an encrypted message bound for Earth, to the military headquarters orbiting Mars. 3 simple words that would change everything. They killed Mina. She pressed send. 5 light-years away on Earth's orbital command station, Admiral Park Taeyong received the message. He was an old man now with gray hair and tired eyes. He had lost his own son in that first battle 80 years ago, the one that led to the Accord. He stood before the massive windows overlooking the shipyards. Hundreds of warships floated in the darkness, vessels built over 8 decades but never used. The sleeping fleet, they called it. Admiral Park touched the glass with one hand. His aide, Captain Choi Miho, waited silently behind him. Sir, the captain finally asked. What are your orders? Park looked at the ships for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice quiet but firm. Wake them up. All of them. Contact the Solar Parliament. Tell them the Accord is finished. Sir, the Council will respond. They failed to protect a child, Park interrupted. A child in their own neutral zone. What good is peace if we give up our souls to keep it? Captain Choi nodded and left to carry out the orders. Admiral Park remained at the window. Somewhere out there, Kim Jae-woo was mourning her daughter. Somewhere out there, The Krell thought humanity would accept this injustice, that humans would stay locked in their system like obedient pets. They were wrong. The old admiral looked at his reflection in the glass. They're about to remember, he said to himself. They're about to remember what happened 80 years ago. And this time, we won't stop until they understand that human children are not collateral damage. Behind him, the shipyards burst into activity. Lights flickered on across hundreds of vessels. Engines that had been cold for decades began warming up. The sleeping fleet was waking up. And the galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity stopped hiding. The Solar Parliament building in Geneva buzzed with activity. Representatives from every nation on Earth hurried through the corridors, their faces grim. Within 6 hours of receiving Admiral Park's request, the emergency session was called. This was the fastest gathering in the Parliament's history. Prime Minister Yoon Ji-ho stood at the central podium. The massive chamber fell silent. Screens around the room showed images of Park Mina, the 8-year-old girl whose death had brought them here. Some representatives wiped tears from their eyes. Members, Yoon began, his voice heavy with emotion. You know why we are here. A child was murdered on neutral ground. The Krell Dominion refuses to take responsibility. They called her collateral damage. They said one human child does not matter. The chamber remained quiet, but the anger was visible on every face. Representative Lee Soo-min from Korea stood up. I propose we invoke Article 7 of the Seoul Accord. The Council failed to protect our citizens in neutral space. We have the right to dissolve the treaty. Seconded, a voice called from the back. The vote took less than 5 minutes. Every single representative raised their hand in agreement. Earth officially withdrew from the Seoul Accord. Above Mars, in the massive orbital shipyards, alarms began sounding. Workers who had maintained the sleeping warships for decades suddenly had new orders. Activate everything. Prepare for immediate deployment. Captain Young Hana climbed aboard the ESS Indomitable for the first time. The Dreadnought-class ship had been completed 15 years ago but had never left the dock. She walked through corridors that smelled of new metal and unused equipment. Her crew followed, nearly 3,000 men and women who had trained for a mission they thought would never come. All stations report status, she ordered from the bridge. One by one her officers confirmed their systems. Weapons ready. Shields operational. Engines warming up. Orders from Admiral Park, her communication officer said, handing her a data pad. Destination, Proxima Station. Objective, justice. Captain Young looked at the orders for a moment, then at her crew. You all know what happened. A little girl named Park Mina was killed. The people responsible think they will face no consequences. They're wrong. We are going to show them that humans protect our own. The crew responded with determination in their eyes. Similar scenes played out across 300 warships. Captains took command. Crews boarded their vessels. Engineers fired up engines that had waited decades to run at full power. On Proxima Station, Commander Kim Jae-woo received a transmission marked urgent. When she opened it, she found promotion orders and new assignment papers. Captain Kim Jae-woo, she read aloud, still not quite believing it. Strike Group Mina. 7 destroyers. Mission: locate and apprehend the Krell commander responsible for the Proxima Station incident. Her hands tightened on the datapad. They had named the strike group after her daughter. A video message played. Admiral Park's weathered face appeared on the screen. Captain Kim, I selected you personally for this command. I know your pain. I lost my son 80 years ago in the battle that led to the Accord. I have spent my entire career building ships I thought I would never use. Now we use them for your daughter, for my son, and for every human child who deserves to live without fear. The fleet launches in 36 hours. Your daughter's name will be the first word the galaxy hears from humanity unleashed. Jae-woo closed her eyes. She saw Mina's face, heard her laughter, remembered her daughter's dream of becoming a diplomat who would bring peace to all species. They called you collateral damage, she whispered to the memory. They are about to learn that every human life matters to us. Every single one. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council gathered on Axis Prime, the neutral world where they made their decisions. The Krell ambassador, Rixtal, stood before the assembly, his mandibles clicking with amusement. The humans are complaining about one offspring, he said through his translator. They signed the accord. They cannot leave their system. They have no power here. The avian consul, Sertalis, ruffled her feathers nervously. Her species had always been cautious. The accord allows dissolution if civilians are harmed in neutral zones. The death of the child was unfortunate but meaningless, Rixtal interrupted. One human larva does not change galactic policy. The Dominion will not bend to these mammals. At that exact moment, every species sensors across the galaxy detected something impossible. 300 human warships were crossing the edge of the solar system, leaving Earth's territory for the first time in 80 years. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions. Some demanded explanations. Others called for immediate defensive measures. Then the transmission came. On every frequency, in every known language, Admiral Park's voice echoed across space. This is Admiral Park Taeyong of Earth's United Fleet. For 80 years we honored the Soul Accord. We stayed in our system. We built peace. We tried cooperation. Today the Krell Dominion killed a child named Park Mina on neutral ground. They called her collateral damage. The Galactic Council did nothing. The Soul Accord is void. We are done hiding. We are done being restrained. The Krell Dominion will answer for murdering this child. Any species that stands with them will be treated as accomplices. We are coming. The transmission ended. Silence filled the council chamber. Riksdal's compound eyes flickered with something that might have been concern, but he forced confidence into his voice. Empty threats. They have 300 ships. The Dominion has 30,000. We will crush them. On the Krell homeworld, War Master Zaxtier listened to the human transmission and laughed. Send 2,000 ships to intercept them. Teach these mammals their place. Show them what happens when lesser species forget the hierarchy. The Krell war fleet began moving. But there was something the Krell did not know. Something no species in the galaxy truly understood. Humanity had spent 80 years preparing for this moment. They had not been idle during their confinement. They had studied every battle in their violent history. They had developed weapons no other species had imagined. They had trained for tactics the galaxy had never seen. And now, for the first time, they were free to use everything they had built. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the ESS Remembrance, Earth's flagship. Captain Choi Miho studied the tactical screens showing the Krell fleet movements. Sir, they are sending 2,000 vessels to intercept us. Admiral Park nodded slowly. A thin smile crossed his face. Good. It has been 80 years since the galaxy saw what humans can do in battle. It is time to remind them. The human fleet accelerated, heading straight toward the Krell forces. The awakening was complete. Humanity was no longer caged. And the galaxy was about to learn why they had been feared in the first place. The battle began at the edge of Krell territory, in a region of space they called the Mandible Expanse. It was a graveyard of ships from dozens of species the Krell had conquered over the centuries. Broken hulls floated in the darkness like ancient warnings. Captain Kim Jai was stood on the bridge of the ESS Mina's Justice, watching the Krell swarm approach on her displays. 2,000 ships, each one larger than her destroyer. The Krell had decorated their hulls with bones from defeated enemies, meant to frighten anyone who saw them. They are trying to scare us, Lieutenant Nam Jun said from the tactical station. Standard Krell intimidation tactic. They do not understand, Jaiwu said quietly. We have been waiting 80 years for this moment. The Krell fired first. Thousands of plasma torpedoes streaked through space, the same weapons that had destroyed countless fleets before. But the human ships scattered in perfect coordination, their formation breaking into dozens of smaller groups. Every ship knew exactly where to go, moving like dancers in a rehearsed performance. Then humanity struck back. Railgun rounds moving at 3% of light speed punched through Krell shields like they were paper. The magnetic accelerators hurled metal projectiles so fast that the Krell sensors barely detected them before impact. Krell ships exploded, their armor useless against the kinetic force. Directed energy weapons sliced through the darkness, cutting enemy vessels in half with surgical precision. Human gunners, trained for decades, hit targets with accuracy the Krell had never encountered. But the biggest shock came when the Krell tried their signature weapon. The Krell specialized in electronic warfare. Their technology could overwhelm enemy communication systems, leaving fleets blind and confused. It was how they had conquered so many species. They activated it now, sending out massive electronic attacks meant to disable the human ships. The human vessels did not even slow down. Sir, Lieutenant Nam said, his voice filled with disbelief. They tried to hack our systems. Our AI defense packages just turned their attack back on them. We are rewriting their command codes in real time. On the Krell command ships, chaos erupted. Their systems began showing false targets. Their weapons locked onto their own allies. Ships that should have been working together started firing on each other as corrupted data flooded their networks. Impossible. Krell commanders screamed across their communication channels. How can they do this? Captain Choi Miho watched from the ESS Indomitable, coordinating the entire battle. Tactical displays showed the Krell formation falling apart. This is what we built, he said quietly. 8 decades of human innovation. Every trick we learned from every war we ever fought. They never had a chance. The Battle of Mandible Expanse lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, fewer than 300 Krell ships survived to retreat. Human losses: 12 vessels damaged, 0 destroyed. All crews rescued. Across the galaxy, other species watched the battle recordings in stunned silence. Many had thought the first human victory 80 years ago was luck. This proved otherwise. But Captain Kim Jae-woo was not finished. Intelligence teams had identified the specific Krell commander responsible for her daughter's death. Submaster Lix Ran, commanding the dreadnought Bone Harvest. Found him, Lieutenant Nam reported. The Bone Harvest is running toward Krell Station Gamma. Set intercept course, Jae-woo ordered. He does not get to run away. Strike Group Mina pursued. The Bone Harvest was massive, 3 times the size of any human destroyer, with 10,000 Krell warriors aboard. It had never been defeated in battle. Jae-woo did not care. Marines, prepare for boarding action, she announced. We are taking that ship. Her officers looked at each other nervously. Boarding a Krell dreadnought was considered suicide by every military doctrine in the galaxy. Captain, Lieutenant Nam said carefully, regulations say you must stay on the bridge during boarding operations. Regulations, Jae-woo interrupted softly, are for people who have not lost their children. She stood and headed for the armory. Her Marine commander, Captain Lee Hanna, was already preparing the assault teams. Human boarding pods launched from the destroyers. They were shaped like bullets, accelerating at speeds no other species would dare to use. They slammed into the Bone Harvest's hull, cutting through the armor with plasma torches. The battle inside was brutal. Krell warriors were fierce opponents. Their exoskeletons provided natural armor. Their bioweapons could kill with a single strike. They had conquered hundreds of worlds with these advantages. But they had never fought human Marines. The humans moved through the corridors in coordinated teams. When one Marine fired, 3 others provided cover. When the Krell tried to overwhelm them with numbers, the humans fell back to choke points and turned corridors into kill zones. Every tactic was something humanity had learned from thousands of years of ground combat. Captain Jae-woo moved with her team, each step bringing her closer to the command center. She had studied Krell ship layouts for weeks. She knew exactly where Submaster Lix Ran would be. They found him in the command nest, surrounded by his elite guards. You dare board a Dominion vessel? Lix Ran chittered, his translator converting the alien sounds. You mammals? You killed my daughter, Jae-woo cut him off, her voice cold and hard. Park Mina. 8 years old. She wanted to be a diplomat. She believed humans and Krell could be friends. Lix Ran's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. One human larva. Meaningless. Your species is weak because you care about individuals. The Dominion is strong because we serve only the hive. Jae-woo raised her weapon. That is exactly why you will lose. Every single one of us fights for each other. You only fight because you have to. That is the difference between us. The firefight lasted 30 seconds. Lix Ran's guards fell to superior tactics and teamwork. The submaster himself tried to flee but was cornered. You cannot win, he hissed. The Dominion has fleets beyond counting. Your 300 ships mean nothing. Then let them come, Jae-woo said. She activated restraints on the Krell commander. Because now you understand something important. Humans do not forget. We do not forgive. And we will never again let our children die while the galaxy watches and does nothing. The message reached Earth within hours. Strike Group Mina had succeeded. The one responsible for Mina's death was captured. But the Krell Dominion, humiliated and furious, issued a new declaration. War Master Zaxtier himself addressed the galaxy. The Krell Dominion will eradicate humanity. Every human world will burn. We are mobilizing our full military strength. 30,000 vessels will descend upon Earth itself. The mammals will learn their place. Admiral Park received the declaration aboard the ESS Remembrance. Captain Choi looked worried. Sir, 30,000 ships. That is their entire military. Admiral Park smiled grimly. Good. Let them come to us. Let them try to attack humanity at home. It is time to show them what 80 years of defensive preparation really means. He opened a channel to all human vessels. All ships return to Sol System. We're going home. Time to show the galaxy what happens when you attack Earth. The human fleet turned and accelerated toward home. Behind them, the largest war fleet in galactic history began moving. The Krell were coming for Earth itself. And humanity was ready. 3 months later, the Krell Dominion's full war fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. 30,000 warships stretched across space like a dark cloud. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. War Master Zax Tyr stood in his command throne aboard the mega-dreadnought Eternal Swarm. He looked at the human solar system with contempt in his compound eyes. "They hide in their home nest like frightened insects," he chittered to his officers. "We will burn their worlds. We will make an example that the entire galaxy will remember. No species defies the Dominion." The Krell fleet moved forward, confident in their overwhelming numbers. What they did not know was that humanity had spent 80 years preparing for exactly this scenario. Every asteroid, every moon, every planet in the solar system had been transformed into part of Earth's defense. The first Krell ships entered the Oort cloud, the vast sphere of ice and debris at the edge of the solar system. Hundreds of vessels pushed deeper, seeing nothing but empty space. Then the mines activated. Explosions blossomed across the Krell formation. Thousands of autonomous weapons that had been hidden among the comets suddenly came to life. Kinetic kill vehicles accelerated to devastating speeds. Directed energy platforms fired from unexpected angles. The Krell lost 200 ships in the first 10 minutes. "Losses are acceptable," Zax Tyr declared, watching his tactical displays. "Continue forward. They cannot have defenses everywhere." He was wrong. As the Krell reached Neptune's orbit, massive railgun platforms built into the planet's moons opened fire. Each shot could punch through 3 ships in a line. The Krell formation took heavy damage, but they had numbers. They pressed on, determined to reach Earth. At the asteroid belt, the Krell encountered something they had never seen before. Thousands of asteroids that looked completely natural suddenly revealed themselves as armed fortresses. Humanity had spent decades hollowing them out, filling them with weapons, supplies, and crews prepared for long battles. The Krell fleet found itself in a 3-dimensional maze of death. Every direction was covered by overlapping fields of fire. Ships exploded as they tried to navigate through the belt. "This is madness," one of Zax Tyr's commanders shouted. "No species fortifies to this extent." "The humans had 80 years to prepare," another officer said quietly. "They knew someone would eventually come for them." But Zax Tyr had committed his entire military. Retreat would mean the end of the Dominion's reputation. He ordered the fleet forward, accepting horrific losses, driving toward Earth with grim determination. The battle reached Mars' orbit. Captain Kim Jaiwoo and Strike Group Mina joined the defense here. Her ships, now veterans of multiple battles, moved with deadly precision through the Krell formations. "For Mina," she whispered, targeting another Krell assault group. "For every child who should grow up without fear." Her weapons fired. Krell ships died. Earth's moon became the final defensive line. Captain Choi Miho commanded the lunar defense grid, massive weapon installations that humanity had built into the moon itself over decades. 15,000 Krell ships remain, Lieutenant Park Yuna reported from the tactical station. "They are desperate now, sir. They are throwing everything at us." "Then we show them what desperate humans can do," Choi replied. Admiral Park made a decision that shocked everyone. He ordered the entire Earth defense fleet to sortie. Not to stay in defensive positions but to attack. 300 human vessels charged directly into the Krell formation. It was insane by any normal military thinking. Attacking when you had perfect defenses made no sense. But humans did not follow normal military thinking. They had studied every battle in Earth's bloody history. Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans held off thousands. Agincourt, where English archers defeated French knights. Midway, where carriers turned the tide of war. They understood something the Krell never learned. Sometimes aggression was the best defense. The human fleet tore through Krell formations like sharks through fish. Ships that had been designed but never tested showed their true power. New weapons, new tactics, everything humanity had developed in 80 years of preparation was unleashed at once. Captain Lee Hanna, commanding the ESS Indomitable, led a direct assault on Zax Tyr's mega-dreadnought. Her shields took massive damage, but she pressed forward, firing every weapon she had. "This is for threatening our home," she transmitted on open channels. "This is for making us fight. This is for every species you have conquered. This is from humanity with fury." The Indomitable's weapons hammered the Eternal Swarm. Other human ships joined the attack. The massive Krell flagship began breaking apart under the concentrated fire. Zax Tyr in his final moments finally understood. Humans were not like other species. They did not just fight for territory or resources. They fought for ideas, for each other, for the future. And that made them more dangerous than any weapon. The Eternal Swarm exploded, taking 300 Krell ships with it in a massive fireball that lit up the space around Mars. The remaining Krell forces broke. For the first time in their history, the Dominion's military retreated in complete disorder. Their formation shattered. Their will to fight destroyed. Human vessels pursued but did not annihilate the fleeing ships. Admiral Park ordered them to let the Krell go. Sir? Captain Choi questioned. We could finish them here. End the threat forever. We could, Park agreed, watching the Krell flee on his displays. But we are not conquerors. We are protectors. Let them go home and tell the galaxy what happens when you push humanity too far. The Battle of Seoul was over. 30,000 Krell ships had attacked Earth. Fewer than 8,000 limped away, broken and defeated. But victory had come at a cost. 43 human ships were destroyed. Thousands of crew members were dead. Captain Lee Hanna was among them, having sacrificed herself to destroy the Krell flagship. As recovery operations began across the solar system, a new transmission reached Admiral Park. It came from the Eldest Council, species so ancient they predated the Galactic Council itself. They had not contacted anyone in centuries. The message was simple: we must speak with you. Come to the Eternal Archive. Come alone. Park looked at the message for a long time. The Eldest Council had helped create the Soul Accord 80 years ago. They had forced humanity into isolation. Now they wanted to talk. Prepare my shuttle, Park told Captain Choi. I will go. Sir, it could be a trap. Perhaps, Park said. But they helped cage us 80 years ago. Maybe now they want to explain why. And maybe, just maybe, they want to help build something better. He looked out at Earth, safe and secure, protected by the sacrifice of thousands. Tell Captain Kim she has command of the fleet while I am gone. Whatever the eldest say, we fought for the right reasons. We fought for Mina. For every child's right to live without fear. I will not forget that. Admiral Park prepared to depart, wondering what ancient wisdom the eldest had to share, and whether the galaxy was finally ready to change. The Eternal Archive existed outside normal space, accessible only through ancient jump gates that few species even knew existed. Admiral Park Taeyong arrived alone in a small shuttle, watching the massive structure materialize before him. It looked like a crystal palace floating in darkness, glowing with its own inner light. The Eldest Council waited inside. 3 species so ancient that most of the galaxy thought they were myths. The progenitors looked like crystalline trees that pulsed with soft light. The timekeepers flickered between past and future, never quite solid in the present. The observers were beings of pure energy, no longer needing physical forms. A progenitor spoke first, its voice like wind through branches. Admiral Park Taeyong. You come seeking answers. I come seeking understanding, Park replied, standing before these ancient beings without fear. 80 years ago you helped force humanity into the Soul Accord. Now, after we defended ourselves, you call me here. Why? The timekeeper's form solidified for a moment. We made an error. We saw your military capability during first contact and feared you would destabilize the galaxy. You were not wrong to fear us, Park admitted. Humans are capable of terrible violence. We proved that. But that was not the true reason we caged you, the observer's voice echoed directly in Park's mind. We feared something else. Something more dangerous than your weapons. Park frowned. What could be more dangerous than weapons? The progenitor's light pulsed brighter. Your ideas. Individual rights. Fighting for principles instead of resources. Sacrifice for others. These concepts spread like fire among species who encounter humans. They question authority. They demand change. They refuse to accept the old ways. The Galactic Council's power depends on species knowing their place in the hierarchy, the timekeeper added. Humans disrupt that. Not through conquest, but through inspiration. Park began to understand. You did not cage us because we were dangerous weapons. You caged us because we were dangerous ideas. Yes, all 3 entities said together. And we were profoundly wrong. The observer's energy form swirled. The death of Park Mina proved our mistake. We created a system where a child could die unavenged, where justice was denied for political convenience. We became the evil we claimed to prevent. What happens now? Park asked. That depends on humanity, the timekeeper replied. You won your war. The Krell Dominion is shattered. Other species fear you. You could become conquerors if you choose. We will not, Park said firmly. Why? The observer asked, genuinely curious. You have the power. You proved your strength. Park thought of Captain Kim Jae-woo, grieving her daughter but refusing to become a monster. He thought of Captain Lee Hannah, sacrificing herself to save Earth. He thought of the thousands who died in the Battle of Seoul. Because we did not fight for conquest, Park said quietly. We fought so that no other parent, human or alien, has to lose their child to casual cruelty. If we become conquerors, we betray everything Mina represented. We become what we fought against. The eldest council was silent for a long moment. Then the progenitor spoke again. The Galactic Council must be reformed. The old hierarchies must end. Will humanity help us build something better? Under one condition, Park said. The new council must recognize the rights of individuals regardless of species. No child is ever again considered collateral damage. Every life matters. Agreed, the three ancient beings said in unison. 3 months later, Proxima Station had been completely transformed. The site where Park Mina died was now a memorial garden, open to all species. A statue of a small human girl holding a toy starship stood at the center, surrounded by flowers from 100 different worlds. Captain Kim Jae-woo, now promoted to admiral, stood before the statue. Representatives from dozens of species had gathered for the ceremony. The air was filled with quiet respect. A young Krell approached nervously, carrying a single flower. The crowd tensed. Krell were still hated after their defeat in the war crimes trials. But Jae-woo knelt down, meeting the young alien's compound eyes at his level. You lost offspring, the young Krell said softly, his translator struggling with emotion he had never been taught to express. We learned about individuals. About being wrong. I am sorry. The great assembly hall stood silent. The same chamber where 847 species had voted to enslave humanity now held a very different gathering. But this time the aliens were not sitting in positions of power. They stood in chains. Yuna walked slowly down the central aisle, her footsteps echoing in the massive space. Behind her, human soldiers lined the walls, armed with weapons that combined alien technology with human improvements. The ships in orbit were crewed by humans. The security systems were controlled by humans. Everything had changed. Vorik stood at the front, his 4 eyes downcast. Around him were the other council leaders who had orchestrated Earth's enslavement. Their proud postures from 5 years ago were gone. Now they stood as prisoners, waiting for judgment. Do you remember this place? Yuna asked Vorik, her voice calm but cold. Do you remember standing where I stand now? You decided our fate without asking us. You took our freedom without hesitation. You scattered families across the galaxy like we were nothing. Vorik said nothing. What could he say? Around the galaxy, similar scenes played out. On every world the council had controlled, humans now held power. The revolution had taken only 6 months. The empire that took thousands of years to build had fallen in less than one. Saman stood in the council's central archive, surrounded by holographic displays showing alien leaders surrendering on dozens of worlds. Species that had voted for humanity's enslavement now begged for mercy. Some offered tribute. Some offered alliance. All of them were terrified. What should we do with them? Hyungwoo asked her. They showed us no mercy. Saman thought of the 5 years in the research station. The humiliation, the pain, the separation from everyone she loved. Part of her wanted revenge. But she remembered something else too. She remembered being human. We show them what they could not show us, she said finally. We show them mercy. But mercy with conditions. In the assembly hall, Yuna addressed the gathered aliens. Representatives from hundreds of species watched via holographic transmission. The whole galaxy was watching. You enslaved us because you thought you were superior, Yuna began. You thought your advanced technology made you better than us. You were wrong. Technology does not make a species great. Character does. Compassion does. The ability to see others as equals does. She gestured to Daehoon, who now stood beside her. He had been reunited with her 3 weeks ago, thin and scarred from the mines but alive. Their child, born in the underground resistance, was now 5 years old. They had missed so much time together. We offer you a choice, Yuna continued. Join a new galactic union, one based on equality and respect. Every species has one vote, regardless of technology or power. We govern together as equals. We help each other, not exploit each other. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Many aliens looked confused. This was not how conquered species usually behaved. And if we refuse? Vorik asked quietly. Then you stay on your home worlds, Juno answered, stepping forward in his military uniform. We will not harm you, but you will have no contact with the rest of the galaxy. No trade, no travel, no communication. You will be isolated until you learn what equality means. It was a strange judgment. The aliens had expected execution or eternal imprisonment. Instead, they were being offered a chance at redemption. Over the following months, most species accepted the new union. They had no choice, but many came to see the wisdom in it. The few who refused were indeed quarantined to their home systems, watching as the galaxy moved forward without them. Earth became the seat of the new government, not because humans demanded it, but because the other species agreed it should be so. The species that had been enslaved now led the galaxy, and they led with the principles they had fought for: freedom, equality, and justice. Minji was reunited with her children in a ceremony broadcast across the galaxy. Nari was now 13, Teo 11. They had grown so much. When they embraced, there was not a dry eye in the audience, human or alien. "I thought I would never see you again," Minji whispered, holding them close. "We knew you would find us," Nari replied. "We never stopped believing." Jaiwan returned to Earth and immediately began teaching at the new Galactic Academy. Young humans and young aliens learned together, studying technology, culture, and most importantly, ethics. The mistakes of the past would not be repeated. The old council's assembly hall was torn down. In its place, humans built something new, a circular chamber where every species sat at the same level, no one above the others. The symbol of the old council, a pyramid showing hierarchy, was replaced with a circle representing equality. Vorik was not executed. Instead, he was assigned to work in human communities, seeing firsthand the species he had tried to destroy. He worked in schools, hospitals, and rebuilding projects. Slowly, over years, he began to understand what the council had never grasped. Humanity's strength was not in their violence or their technology. It was in their refusal to become like their oppressors. One day, Vorik was working at a construction site when Yuna visited. He froze, expecting anger or punishment. Instead, she handed him a bottle of water. "You voted to enslave us," she said. "But we vote to give you another chance. Do not waste it." That moment, more than any battle or speech, showed the galaxy what humanity truly was. They had won the war, but they had not lost their souls in the process. Years later, children played in parks on Earth where alien occupation centers once stood. Human and alien children running together, laughing together. In schools across the galaxy, students learned about the dark time when one group thought they could own another, and how it took the enslaved to teach the enslavers about true civilization. The galaxy had judged humanity as primitive and savage. In the end, humanity judged the galaxy as worth saving, even after everything that had happened. And perhaps that judgment, that mercy, that refusal to become monsters even when they had every right to, was the most human thing of all. The story of Earth's enslavement became a legend, passed down through generations. Not as a tale of revenge but as a reminder. A reminder that the truly advanced species is not the one with the best weapons or the fastest ships. It is the one that knows when to fight, when to forgive, and how to build something better from the ashes of what was destroyed. And in that great circular chamber where all species met as equals, there hung a simple plaque with words in every language: "Never again will any species bow to another. We rise together or we fall alone." Humanity had been forced to their knees. But they had risen, lifted others with them, and changed the galaxy forever.